Well, their economy is already going south, and we see right now that if it's growing at only 1 or 2%, basically the same rate as the American economy. And there is indications that the Chinese economy is actually contracting at the moment. So, how they're going to take it is really interesting, because even when China was growing more prosperous, it was growing less stable all the time, with the number of protests increasing dramatically over the last 5 to 6 or so years. And we've seen protests become more violent. When the economy actually gets a lot worse than it is today, it's people, and I think that essentially we're going to see the Chinese just say enough is enough, because the main basis of the legitimacy of the Communist Party is the continual delivery of prosperity, and when there's no longer prosperity, there's no reason for the Communist Party.
Right. Before they started getting on this manufacturing success line, you saw a big protest, of course, Tiananmen Square. When people feel oppressed, when their lifestyle is really bad and they have no hope for the future, they're going to protest. And we're seeing that around the world, certainly in Europe and even in Russia. And maybe people were becoming more complainant and a little happier over there, as they all had jobs that they could go to and make, in their relative terms, a good living. But now that might be taken away, so as you said, we might see more uprisings, right?
Well, we're going to certainly see much more discontent, because right now Chinese society is very volatile. Most people in China, they're happy to be more prosperous than not, but when you have rising expectations, it's very dangerous for any government, but especially for an authoritarian one. So this is a very sensitive moment for the Communist Party.
Yeah, and the government has been doing things, and I guess our government is savvy to what they're doing. Of course, devaluing their money, unfair trade practices with us. But haven't they also been using stimulus plans of their own to try to float their economy and float their businesses and kind of put on a better look globally to their economy than they're really experiencing?
Yes, at the end of 2008, Beijing embarked on the biggest stimulus program in history. In 2009, my back-of-the-envelope calculations, they poured $1.1 trillion of stimulus into a then $4.3 trillion economy. Wow. And of course it created growth, but it also created dislocations like asset bubbles, inflation, all sorts of problems that we're seeing right now, which are actually much more difficult to deal with than low growth. So essentially, Beijing right now does not know what to do with all of these problems that were created by overstimulating the economy in 2008 and 2009.
Yeah, and Obama's being criticized for his stimulus, and it looks like China, basically the whole world followed the trend of stimulus. They don't really know what else to do. But there's a growing housing bubble that we're hearing about, Gordon, that could dwarf what happened here in the U.S. Isn't that right?
Well, certainly, because what we've got right now in China is one of the biggest housing bubbles in history. And I don't think that they really know what to do with it, because, prices have got to really unsustainable levels. Mm-hmm. But when prices come down, it means that the development companies are going to be really hurt. It's going to be the banks are going to be really hurt. Local governments, which depend on revenue from land sales, will be hurt. And, of course, ordinary Chinese who bought at inflated prices are going to be hurt. So this is going to be something that they won't be able to deal with. And right now, you can see of policy response to the problems in the housing market indicates the government really does not have a clue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem when you say, I'm the power.